What is going on, Bills Mafia? Happy Halloween. We had to bring you guys a video here as we have just gotten some major breaking news that could affect this Bills versus Chiefs game on Sunday. Injuries on both ends. Players have been ruled out, and we have to talk about it. That's why you subscribe to the Bills Breakdown. Not in office today, obviously in my apartment here, but we had to get you guys a video. When we hear Bills news, we're going to bring it here on the Bills Breakdown. So subscribe, turn those notifications on, and join us on Sunday at about 3:45 Eastern Time for our Bills versus Chiefs watch party right here on the channel. So the Bills side of things, they got some players ruled out, and not a ton of surprising ones, but definitely some impact names here. DaQuan Jones remains out with that calf injury that he sustained in pregame warmups a couple of weeks ago, and that what that means for the Bills here is they've been without him, and now they're without Ed Oliver, who was just placed on injured reserve, and there's optimism that he will be back for a late postseason run for the Buffalo Bills, but what this means with DaQuan Jones still out is that Deon Walker has to continue to step up for these Buffalo Bills. 4th round pick back in April by Buffalo, and he's been nothing short of an absolute steal so far on this team. On both the run defense and the pass game, he's been getting to the quarterback. He has been stopping runners behind the line of scrimmage. One of the most impactful players on this Bills defense, period, so far this year, let alone rookies. A couple other moves that the Bills made is that they've got Larry Ogunjobi in free agency this spring, and now he has been activated since that suspension, played a little bit last week, and now he's going to have even more of a role and more snaps on this Bills defense with Jones and Oliver out. The Bills also signed Jordan Phillips to their 53-man roster. He had kind of been hanging out on the practice squad, had a sack last week, and that got him the elevation to the full-time 53-man for the rest of the season. Now, it's not going to just be the interior of this defensive line that has to step up with Jones and Oliver out. We got to need these defensive linemen who are good in the run game, like Michael Hoyt, like an AJ Epinesa, like a Greg Rousseau, to step up here and make plays against this Kansas City offense that we know is one of the most well-oiled machines in the league. And also, the Bills' defense isn't getting any favors done to them as Shaq Thompson, the linebacker, has been ruled out with a hamstring injury. This is really bad news considering how well Shaq Thompson has been playing in the absence of Matt Milano, in the absence of Terrell Bernard, and he was limited on Wednesday and then ended up not practicing on Thursday or Friday. This isn't really a kind of a killer for this Bills defense because he's been playing awesome. As far as PFF goes, I know it's not the Bible, but he's been the 4th highest graded coverage linebacker so far this season. I mean, that has to say something. He's been one of the most highest graded linebackers at all this season. So, I mean, in the spot starts that he's had, in the absence of Milano, in the absence of Bernard, he has been great. His grades did kind of really dip across the board against Carolina, so I'm kind of curious to see if the injury happened a little bit before then and he was kind of just fighting through it. It looks like he won't be able to in Week 9 against Kansas City, but some good news on the injury front for Buffalo here, as Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard will be active in this game. No injury designation put on them for this Kansas City matchup, but what I will say is that they have been kind of the opposite of Shaq Thompson in coverage so far this year. They have been porous. Their grades have been super low. And for a Chiefs team that employs Travis Kelce, where he's kind of just hitting his stride in the middle of the season here, it's definitely going to be a matchup that we're going to be watching here. But the veteran leadership, the presence, the instincts to be in the right gaps at the right times by Milano and Bernard will be paramount against this Kansas City team, no doubt about it. Now, other news for the Bills here, ruling players out. Josh Palmer remains out with that ankle injury. The Bills receiving corps has been kind of the talk of the season here in terms of criticisms of this Buffalo team. And, we thought that there was some optimism that Josh Palmer would be able to play here after just kind of getting in a little bit of a groove in that first quarter against Atlanta. That 45-yard grab really just kind of had started to see a connection between him and Josh Allen. And, of course, he goes down with that ankle sprain. And we thought there was a chance he could play here after missing the last 2 weeks or so, but he was really limited in all the practice reps that he had this week. And it just doesn't seem like he's going to be ready to go. You don't want a guy who you invested 3 seasons of 8 figures on each year of the contract to kind of have a long-term injury here when we consider, the Bills' receiving corps has not been as good as we've all hoped it to be. And it's not like Palmer himself has been special throughout this season, but, it's not exactly the best thing to where we already have a bad receiving corps and we're moving further down the depth chart here. We don't need Tyrell Shavers out there on a ton of obvious passing downs and whatnot, like Elijah Moore, Curtis Samuel, this is really, really bad. And I think the Bills at this point, need to look in the mirror and say, we need to trade for a receiver. Because that's been the stance I've had this entire trade deadline season. And I've been telling you guys, there's names out there to be had. If the Bills are willing to surround Josh with some talent, then there are absolute possibilities out there. We talk about names like Rashid Shaheed. That's my number one prediction for the Bills to go and out there and deal for at the deadline here. You could help him on the boundary. You could help him in the special teams department as well. But there's also names like Chris Olave and Jacoby Myers and Calvin Ridley and other names out there that the Bills could target. I just think they got to go get somebody, because Gabe Davis coming up off the practice squad is not going to be enough. By the way, don't think he'll be available for this Chiefs game either. Now, we're going to talk some more Bills injuries here and then get to the Chiefs sides of things, because they are banged up as well. But if you guys want the Bills to be 100% healthy before this season gets wrapped up, so not only this week, but for every week that follows after, if you want the Bills to get healthier, manifest it, send the good vibes, hit that thumbs up icon, like today's video. Like I said, we're going to talk more Bills injuries and then the Chiefs equation in just a moment. First, though, I got to tell you guys about our proud sponsor in the program, and that is Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Keep the hard-hitting football action going this season on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. It's the best daily fantasy sports app in the game because it's the most aesthetically pleasing, it's the easiest to play, and the features they offer are offered by no other daily fantasy sports platform, like stacks. If you wanted to take multiple stat projections from the same player and put it in the same lineup on Prize Picks, you can do so. For example, Josh Allen touchdown, Josh Allen passing yards, Josh Allen rushing yards, that could all go in the same lineup on Prize Picks. So download the app today. And you know what you can also do? Get social with the app as well. There's a feed tab where you can copy lineups from other people, creators, celebrities, your friends, me as well on Prize Picks. So download the app today and use the promo code CLNS for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All that info is down in the comments and description of today's video. So more injury news here for Buffalo, as we've talked about the guys who have been ruled out, but there's a new name on the injury report who's been ruled questionable for this game, his status up in the air, and that is Taron Johnson, the Bills' nickel cornerback here, dealing with a groin injury. Now, this injury popped up for the first time all week on Friday, so that is not exactly good news for the Bills here as far as his availability goes for Week 9, but I was looking through Twitter, looking for some speculation on this injury because we really don't know that much about it. Banged Up Bills did say, quote, he's hopefully just precautionary here, but he also said that, a late injury popping up on Friday with a questionable designation is never really a good sign. Now, as far as Taron Johnson goes, as a defender on this Bills team, he is one of the best in terms of pretty much everything, right? Coverage, run defense, tackling, like secure tackling in the open field. He's one of the best the Bills got. But the coverage, I will say, has not been the greatest so far this season from him. And we saw against Carolina specifically, like I was just seeing with my own two eyes, Andy Dalton throughout that first half was really peppering wherever Taron Johnson was and who he was covering on the football field, and completions were had because of it. He had his worst grade against Carolina in coverage all season. He's been trending in the wrong direction, so we'll see if this is something that's been lingering for Taron Johnson here. I honestly feel like he hasn't been 100% all season long, but they're going to need him back, man. Cam Lewis would be the one who steps in here in the nickel position for Taron Johnson, and he's been serviceable for sure. I like his play, but he's cannot really compare to Taron Johnson when it comes to defending the run and his tackling skills go on this team. So it will be a big loss if the Bills are without Taron Johnson in Week 9. Now, moving forward to the Kansas City side of things here is their running back, Isiah Pacheco, has been ruled out with a knee injury that he sustained on Monday Night Football against the Washington Commanders here. He was deemed week to week pretty much right after that injury by Andy Reid, as I was just talking about Andy Dalton before. And that means, as we know as Bills fans here, with Jones and Palmer both week to week, that you're probably not going to play the forthcoming game, and that's not going to be the case for Isiah Pacheco here. As far as who will be kind of stepping up on that depth chart for Kansas City, running the football, Kareem Hunt has been seeing a bunch of action already this season, and he's probably going to get the bulk of the work here for Kansas City. Now, I'll say this. For Bills fans who are like, yeah, we could deal with Kareem Hunt. He's not that effective, explosive of a runner. Well, the Chiefs have other reinforcements back there, man. Rookie Bashard Smith, running back who can also split out wide, can run routes, is just an uber athlete, talented with the football in his hands. He is going to be a player to watch here. They haven't fully employed him, but in some spot snaps and some certain opportunities, he has flashed legit skills and legit production in this league. So I think Chiefs have to be worried about Bashard Smith here, and I think it's going to be a player that they continue to use more and more as we get closer and closer to the postseason. So a guy we're going to have to be worrying about down the line once we get to January as well. Some other guys who have been ruled out here for Kansas City, Josh Simmons, their rookie offensive tackle, has been ruled out as well, and this is a non-injury related type of situation here. Not really sure what's going on. Not going to press too far into what's going on here with Josh Simmons. Not really our business to deal with here in Buffalo, but we know that he's not going to be playing here in Week 9. He has not played at all since Week 5, so whatever he's got going on, hopefully that gets sorted out for him, but not going to be available in the 7-1-6 here. He's been pretty average as far as his grades go across the board. Really good in pass protection so far, about a top 30 grade in the league when it comes to tackles in the pass blocking department. And his grades all across the board really, really solid for a rookie. So he'll be out. That's good news for Buffalo, but even better news for the Bills here and worse news for the Chiefs is their swing tackle, Jaylon Moore, was just added to the injury report here with an illness, and he has been deemed questionable. Now, some of Moore's grades across the board have been better than Josh Simmons, so the Chiefs going to be potentially looking at a third-string left tackle here. That could bode well for a Bills pass rush that ranks really highly in a lot of key areas, man. Like pass rush win rate, pass rush productivity, pressure rate, all the nerd stats. The Bills are really, really good at getting to the quarterback, and it could be even easier for them if Trey Smith does not play. He, the offensive guard for Kansas City, one of the best in the entire NFL, is questionable with a back injury. So Kansas City dealing with it about just as much of injury woes as the Buffalo Bills here heading into this big time matchup. So may the best team win. It's going to be a battle of attrition. I'm so super excited for this game, and we're going to be live for it right here on the channel. That's why you subscribe to the Bills Breakdown. We'll be live at 3:45 Eastern Time on Sunday for Bills versus Chiefs, and it's going to be an electric game. Make sure to subscribe, turn notifications on. We'll see you guys in the next video. We'll see you guys in the live stream, and as always, let's go Buffalo.